Howdy folks, Nathan here with the 2024 Chevrolet Traverse. This is an all-new vehicle from the ground up, and there's a lot to show you. And this is early stuff that you're seeing here. So this is before the drive, this is before anything. So we don't have all the numbers for you, but we do have some. So check it out from the ground up. Look what we have here. Well, for one thing, this is the RS. Now, there are 4 different trims, and the RS is near the top. It is sort of their on-road activity badass looking street vehicle, or whatever you want to call it, with the blacked out front end RS badging. And most notable, these massive 22-inch wheels. Those are huge. Now, the 4 different trims are the LS, the LT, the RS, and there's one other one which we're going to cover in just a second. Oh, hey, you're giving it away, cameraman. Oh, yeah, it's the Z71. We're going to cover that in a second. But let's go have a look at what powers this vehicle, because that's all new as well. That's right. They removed the V6. Remember that? Well, it's gone. Not only that, but they changed the transmission as well. And by doing that, they've actually increased the torque. What you're about to see puts out 315 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. And it's a 4-cylinder, 2.5-liter turbo. It's hooked up to an all-new 8-speed automatic transmission. That powertrain goes for front-wheel drive on almost all the trims with the exception of the Z71. So you can't get them all front-wheel drive. However, all-wheel drive is available. So, is it less powerful? No, it's actually more powerful. Is it less torquey? No, it's a lot torqueier than the V6 that was in here. And when properly equipped, it can tow 5,000 pounds. All right. By the way, this little silver box here is the inverter that they plug into in order to keep the lights on so it doesn't kill the battery, just so you know. Yeah, so there it is. Have a look there. You just can't see a thing. But it's a twin scroll turbocharged engine, I should mention. So yeah, 4-cylinder turbocharged replacing the V6. Where have I heard that before? All right, shall we look inside? Now the RS does have some special trim on the inside. You're gonna hear some beeping, don't worry about that. The beeping will go away once we get inside. But I wanted to show you this. Check this out. All of this trim in here, you would think it's color coordinated. It is to this vehicle because it's right on the outside, but you're going to see this trim in the other vehicle as well. Now, you have this interesting stitching here and this contrasting red, which is pretty interesting. This is an all new center console. Well, everything's all new, and that's including this massive pass-through down here. That is large enough to put a set of my boots in. This reminds me of some stuff that GM's done before. Toggle switches and whatnot. I'm really glad that they have them here. So this is an 11-inch instrument cluster screen right here. It's actually fairly sizable. And then over here to your right, this is over 17 inches of screen. Now what's interesting is the design itself is similar to some of the other stuff that GM is doing in terms of the location of the screen itself, the way it's set up. And we were recently in a Buick, actually a couple different Buicks, and both of them had a similar but smaller setup, just like this. And with the volume knob being up here, and then some physical buttons for the heating and air conditioning system. But a majority of the other switchgear really is embedded into the screen and the system itself. So that is something that is all new as well. There's more. This is storage. It's a little bit different than it was before, although it's fairly deep. And you do have wireless charging, USB and USB-C. I'm actually really glad they're doing that. A lot of companies have just gone to USB-C, and there's so many old farts like me who still do USB regular charging. Now, let's have a look at the back seat, shall we? Okay, well, fortunately, it's not beeping when I open the back, which is great. But there's a couple things I want to show you. First, I want to just sit down here to show you the space, and then this stuff over here. But I also want to show you the way that seat that's in front of you functions. So, first is this. and the seat is already adjusted pretty much to me. So it's back almost as far as it goes. And I have just enough legroom and plenty of headroom. That's fascinating. This is climate control for the back seat. Small display here, temperature, fan speed, and heated seats on the outboard seats. Now you may be wondering whether or not you can get 8-passenger seating. You can, just not on this model. I believe with the lower models, the LS and the LT. Oh, hello. This is actually telling me that there's someone in the seat. Anyway, in the other models, it will be available. All right, let me get out for a sec. I want to get over to that seat and show you how it works. Now you do have access, of course, to the rear, but what they did is they upped their game a little bit, which that's actually a fairly wide opening door. So let's say you have a baby seat that's sitting right here. Well, if you want this seat to go forward, you can push this. I heard servo release. Ta-da! So the baby seat can remain there and the seat will go forward and you still have access to the third row. So, yes. And there is also a switch back here for passengers. So you can hit that so you can get out. All right, I guess I'm going in. It's always funny when the fat guys get into the third row. Actually, not too terribly bad. Let's see what happens.
Everybody wants to know what the third row space is like, Nathan.
Yes, I know. And when you have a 260-pound guy who's 6'1" going in the back, it's amusing. Okay, but the good news is I do fit. My legs are crossed, though. They wouldn't be able to be out, although this seat does slide forward. And if it did slide forward, then I'd have enough room to keep my feet down. And I think I'd have enough room to have my feet actually underneath here. So there would be just enough room for me. So could you put 3 adults back here? Yeah, if they're not really tall, I think they'd actually fit. You do have vents right above your head, which is nice. And additional cup holders here. Oh, look, USB-C back here. So only modern people can go into the back seat. It is... Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention. Unlike other crossovers and SUVs in this class, they actually managed to put some glass back here. Look at that. Now, granted, it's not a lot, but at least for the rear third row passenger, you do have these small little port windows that you can look out of. That's actually a big deal for people who are stuck into the third row. So let's show you how the trunk configuration works, because there's a lot of space to be used, and these seats do fold flat. Let's see if I can get out of here in some graceful, dignified way. Nope, it's not going to be graceful. It's not going to be dignified, is it? Here we go. I did not destroy the car getting out. All right. There's the seat. Pull this. Voila. Now, let's open the trunk. There we go. And we have these controls over here if you want to swing around, which will allow me to put down the seats. I'm going to see if I can get this right. Aha! Okay. I believe if I slide the other seat forward, it'll fold completely flat without a problem. There it goes. Yeah, that's right. So this one pulled back a little bit. Anyway, but you get the idea on how the seats work. Down here, there is additional storage. And underneath this storage area, it's actually fairly large, spare tire that is underneath. And according to them, they do that to keep it clean. And good for them. All right. I guess you guys are waiting for the main deal, right? All right. I'm not going to keep it any longer. Let's go over to the new boy. Come here. This badge represents what we're talking about. Z71. Yep. Now, is it something that just has wheels? Yeah, a little bit more than that. Tires, a little bit more than that. Suspension, a little bit more than that. What you're looking at here is a much more capable off-road version of the Traverse. As such, what they did was they gave it a beefier suspension setup. It has twin clutch rear end, which allows not only the power to go back 50%, but also side to side 100%. So you can actually lock up the rear on its own to get it up and over obstacles. It also has a terrain drive system allowing one pedal driving, which we played with before in other Z71s and whatnot, and it's worked a treat. This also has Goodyear Wrangler tires. So proper off-road tires and a wider stance, all of which allows for, well, frankly, better off-roading, especially in like hard mud terrain and stuff like that that we deal with in Colorado. Obviously, the trim on the outside looks a lot different. This is supposed to be a lot more manly, but the front end is really where you get the manly look. And that's because you have a very different grille up front. Yes, it's black. Once again, Z71, but then you start getting this type of stuff. Now, while this is, yeah, plastic, underneath, there is an actual skid plate. And just as importantly, these tow hooks are functional, and they're red, so Tommy will be thrilled. In addition, the power system, I was talking about a powertrain that I was talking about, it's in here as well. It's the same powertrain throughout the lineup. And we don't have any numbers yet, so I don't have approach, I don't have departure, I don't have ground clearance. I can tell you, however, according to General Motors, that this is about an inch higher than the regular Traverse. So between the tires and the suspension and everything else, gives it that 1 extra inch. What do you think, guys? Huh? Yes, these are 18-inch wheels, by the way, and they're unique to this. The interior we're going to have a quick look at because it is unique. It is very different than the RS. And you'll see it right when you enter if you look at the seat back. Yes, and it is reminding me once again, the door is open. And if you look at the seat back, it says Z71. So, cool thing, when you're going off-road and you're bald like me, if you get slammed in the back of the head, it'll actually say Z71 backwards on the back of my head. The rest of the interior, remember I was talking about color coordinated in the last one? Notice it's the same color, which is kind of like a carbon fiber weave. And it still works, but obviously it looks like what they're doing is they're going for the same red color, at least in these two trims. We do not know what the LS and the LT are going to look like inside. However, I suspect they're going to be very similar. By the way, a couple other things I wanted to mention. Massive panoramic roof here. This is a pre-production model though, so there's a lot of stuff in here that may or may not show up in the production model. So I don't want to promise anything, although I have a feeling that will show up. And this, which is their digital rear view mirror, I absolutely adore this. One more thing though that you guys are gonna dig. Right here, Super Cruise. Yep, that is Super Cruise, my friends. Super Cruise will be available on these vehicles. And I believe the Z71 will get it standard, but that has not been confirmed. I think it is. Very cool to have that. So, we have Super Cruise, we have a new engine, we have a new body, we have a new transmission, we have an off-road package, we have the RS on-road street package, we have 5,000 pounds of towing. That's kind of encapsulating everything. So let's hop out and close this baby out. Now you guys may have noticed that companies like Nissan and Kia have taken their large crossovers and made them a little bit more off-road worthy by adding tires, suspension, and whatnot. And we've noticed that, and we put them on some of our tracks and trails. However, not many of them have actually gone and done this, more street-oriented one as well. So this sort of creates a bookend from one side to the other of Chevrolet's largest crossover SUV in terms of going from one extreme to the other. In the very near future, we're hoping to have a lot of drive impressions that will be coming eventually. And of course, if we're lucky, we'll be able to take that one on our off-road course, which is built specifically for crossovers. Stay tuned for that in the near future. For the Fast Lane Car, TFL Off-Road, and everything else we represent, this is Nathan. I'll see you next time.